Hello everyone, welcome to your first English lesson, and today we're going to discuss a poem which is called as Grandma Climbs a Tree. And this is written by Ruskin Bond, who has won several awards which includes Padma Bhushan and Padma Shri. So let's jump straight into the poem. My grandmother was a genius. Would you like to know why? Because she could climb trees spreading and high. She'd be up there, branches in her tries, and mind you, when last she climbed a tree, she was 62. Ever since childhood, she had had this gift for being happier in a tree than in a lift. Okay, my grandma was a genius. So, in the first line itself, the poet is calling his grandmother a genius. When do you say someone is a genius? Suppose there is a kid in your class who is doing exceptionally well in all his exams. He's getting the highest score. Okay, so when he scores the highest in his exams, you can say he's a genius because he's doing better than everyone in your class. So, a person is a genius if he's intellectually very good. Intellectually, as in, if he is very good at reading or education or studies, then you can call him a genius. Or you can call a person a genius when he's very good at one particular skill. So, when I'm talking about skill, it can be anything. So, if there is a person who is very good at cooking, so you can say that he's a genius cook. If there is a person who plays piano very well, so you can say this person is a genius at playing piano. Okay, so genius can be at various areas of their interest and who's exceptionally good. Exceptionally good meaning they're better than anyone in that field or anyone in that area who's pursuing that field. Okay, so he's saying that my grandmother was a genius, but he's not telling why. That is the reason he asks in the second line, would you like to know why? Because she can climb trees. Okay, this is a very unique talent which we have not heard of. Not many people climb trees. If you are one of them, then really great. Please do share your experiences with your friends. But here he's talking about one very particular thing which his grandmother does, because of which he's calling her a genius. Okay, so she's very good at climbing trees, and these trees can be anything, spreading or high. So when he says spreading, so a tree which has a lot of branches grows horizontally. Horizontally meaning parallel to the ground. That is, it has a lot of branches. It is not very tall, but it has a lot of branches. So the leaves are widely spread. That is what is the meaning of spreading or high. When you see a coconut tree, you realize how high it is. So basically, he's talking about trees which are of different varieties and different kinds. So his grandmother is a genius because she can climb every kind of trees, even the trees which spread or the trees which are very tall. She'd be up their branches in a trice. So he's saying that, so suppose there is a tree, the tree's main branch is called as the trunk, and the sub branches are the ones which spread across the trees. So his grandmother can be up their branches as in she can climb up to the branches in a trice. So a trice means very quickly, so in a second or in a trice. He's a little exaggerating it when he tells very quickly, but yes, the grandmother is so good at it that she can do it very fast. And mind you, when last she climbed a tree, she was 62. So she was not doing this when she was very small. She did it when she was pretty old. She did it when she was 62 years. Okay, so this 62 implies her age. So the last time when she climbed the tree, she was 62 years old. So she was really old, but she still climbs trees, is what he means. Ever since childhood, she's had this gift. She'd had this gift. Okay, so this is not something that she's developed. in a later age, that is, after she is an adult meaning it can be after 22 or 20 years, she's been doing this from a very small age, for being happier in a tree than in a lift. So here the poet tries to rhyme it, where you can see the rhyming. Ever since childhood, she had this gift for being happier in a tree than in a lift. So he's just trying to rhyme it, because he wants to convey to all of us that how happy his grandmother is when she climbs a tree. She's the most happiest. She doesn't mind being in a lift or going to a place which is higher. Usually lift is something which takes you high in a building or anything of that sort. So he means to say that tree is the happiest place for his grandmother, and she can't be happier, as happy as she is on a tree as in any other places, be it a lift or anything. And although as years went by, she would be told that climbing trees should stop when one grew old, and that growing should be gone about gracefully. She'd laugh and say, "Well, I'll grow disgracefully. I can do it better." And we had to agree, for in all the garden there wasn't a tree. And though as years went by, she would be told that climbing trees should stop when one grew old. So obviously everyone had this fear that okay, she's become very old, so she should stop climbing the tree, because once somebody becomes old, it becomes really difficult for someone to climb the tree, and it is very dangerous also, because once you fall down from there, it takes a lot of time to get well. Okay, and that growing old should be done gracefully. Okay, why are people asking her not to climb tree when she is old? Because when one grows old, they have to be graceful. What do you mean by graceful? Graceful means very elegant or a respectful. You should respect someone when they are old. Okay, if I look at a person who is very old, I should feel like respecting them. But people are saying if she climbs the trees, people who look at her don't feel like respecting her, because she's acting like a small child. So this is what they mean. They want her to stop climbing the tree because they want all of us to respect her when she's old. Okay, and it is a very dignified word. Dignified meaning, if you are in an occupation which someone looks up to. Okay, if you're doing a job, everyone gives you respect. They say you're a dignified person. So when you're old, also they have to look at you and feel like you're a very wise and respectful person. She would laugh and say, "Well, I'll grow old disgracefully." Okay, since everyone are putting this pressure on her that she has to grow old gracefully, she just laughs at it, because she does not care if she is being respected or not, because she likes climbing tree and she'll do it irrespective of people respecting her or not. Okay, I can do it better. So she says, "I will grow this gracefully because I can grow that way better." Okay, I can become old that way better. And we have to respect that. And we had to agree. Okay, for in all the garden there wasn't a tree. Okay, these people are a little smart here, because they agree for her to do whatever she wants, because they know that in the garden they stay there is no tree. So even if she wanted to climb a tree, she can't. So all this argument is of no use. So they just agree with her. She hadn't been up at one time or another, having learned to climb from a loving brother when she was 6, but it was feared by all that one day should have a terrible fall. The outcome was different while we were in a town. She climbed a tree and couldn't come down. She hadn't been up at one time or another, having learned to climb tree from a loving brother when she was 6. Okay, so there was a time when she was not up. So it is not like as soon as she was born she used to climb up the trees. So there was a time when she was not climbing the trees, and this was when she was 6 years old. And when she was 6 years old, she learned to climb the tree with the help of her brother. Her brother was the one who taught her to climb the trees. But it was feared by all that one day she would have a terrible fall. But everyone was scared that one day she will fall down from a tree and it will be terrible. That is terrible as in terrible. Is it a good word or a bad word? It is a negative word. It is something which is very bad, or falling in a terrible way is that you'll fall and you'll get hurt badly. Okay, so that is what is meant by terrible. It is a very negative word, and it will, if you fall terribly you get hurt very badly, is what they mean. The outcome was different. While we were in a town, she climbed a tree and couldn't come down. Okay, so this was what we were fearing, that she will fall from the tree and it will be terrible. But what actually happened was very different. They were in a town when she climbed a tree, but she couldn't get down. That is, she could climb up, but she was not able to get down. Okay, after the rescue, doctor took Granny's temperature and said, I strongly recommend a quiet week in the bed. We sighed with relief and tucked her up well. Poor Granny. For her, it was like a brief seasonal hell, confined to her bedroom while every breeze whispered the summer and dancing leaves. After the rescue, the doctor took Granny's temperature and said, I strongly recommend a quiet week in a bed. So when she was not able to come down, they had to call people, they had to rescue. Rescue is saving someone from a danger or from a situation that is not under control. So when someone saved her, they took her to the hospital. The doctor treated her. There was a temperature, that is, she had a fever. That is when you say temperature. Granny's temperature meaning, so when you have a fever, we say that you have temperature. Okay, the doctor took Granny's temperature. That is, he checked if she had fever and said, I strongly recommend. Recommend as in, I advise you to do this. I am asking you to do this very strongly. Very strongly as in, I am requesting you or I am advising you to stay at home. And they're saying quiet week in a bed. Okay, what do you mean by quiet? Quiet is being silent. So is he really meaning that the granny should be silent here? No, he's saying quiet as in the granny should not attempt climbing trees anymore, at least for a week, and she should stay in the bed. We sighed with relief and tucked her up well. So these people, as in the poet and his parents, were relieved that okay, there is nothing very serious happened to her. She will be okay after a few days, and they tucked her up in the bed. So they took her and they put her in the bed. They made sure that she's comfortable. Okay, and they made sure that she's comfortable, and they were relieved that nothing happened to her. Poor Granny. For her, it was like a brief season in hell. So, poor Granny doesn't mean that he's saying the granny was poor, he's showing pity to her. So, when we say Ayo Papa in Kannada, it is something very similar to that, where he is showing concern, where he is showing that he really cares for the granny, because for her to stay in a bed for a week, it was almost like being in hell. Hell as in ನರಕ ಅಂತ ನಾವೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ, that is called as hell. So for her it was a brief season, it was a small time being in hell, confined to her bed while every breeze whispered summer and dancing leaves. So when she was in the bed, all she could think of was the trees and whisper of summer. So maybe it was a summer season then, and during the night when the leaves would, make noises, she could hear that sound, and she will always be wanting to go back and climb the tree. That is the reason it was very, very uncomfortable for her. She was very sad to stay in the bed. But she had held her peace till she felt stronger. Then she sat up and said, I'll lie here no longer. And she called for my father and told him, undaunted, that a house in a treetop was what she now wanted. My dad knew his duties. He said, that's all right. You'll have what you want, dear. I'll start work tonight. But when she had held her peace till she felt stronger. Okay, so but she held her peace until she felt stronger. Then she sat up and said, I'll lie here no longer. So she waited patiently as in patiently andre ಆರಾಮಾಗಿ ಅಂದರೆ ತಾಳ್ಮೆಯಿಂದ. Okay, so she waited patiently until she felt stronger, ಅಂದರೆ ಅವ್ರ ವಾಸಿ ಆಗೋವರೆಗೂ. So until she felt better, she waited patiently in the bed, and then she sat up and she told, I will not stay here any longer. I can't be here any longer. I have to go climb the tree. That is where I want to be. I like to be there. And she called my father and told him, undaunted, that a house in a treetop was what she now wanted. You can see the rhyming there, undaunted and wanted. Undaunted is without hesitation. ಹೆಸಿಟೇಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವಿವಾಗ ಏನಾದರೂ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಹಿಂಜರಿತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನು ಹೆಸಿಟೇಷನ್ ಅಂತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ವಿತೌಟ್ ಹೆಸಿಟೇಷನ್ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಇನ್ ವಿತೌಟ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್, ವಿತೌಟ್ thinking twice, she told his son, that is the author's father, that she wanted a house in the treetop. So on the top of the branches of the tree, she wanted a house and she wanted to stay there. My dad knew his duties. He said, that's all right. You'll have what you want, dear. I'll start work tonight. So his father realized after all the time she still wants to go and stay on top of the tree, and that is what she really wants. So as a son, it is his duty. He thinks that it is his duty to fulfill what his mother desires. ಅವ್ರಿಗೇನು ಬೇಕು, ಅವ್ರಿಗೇನು ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಮಗನಾಗಿ ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ತಿಳಿಯಿತು. ಸೊ he knows that it's his duty to fulfill his mother's desires. So he said that you will have whatever you want and I will start my work. That is, the work he's talking about here is building the tree house on the tree top. Okay. With my expert assistance, he soon finished the chore. House with windows, made her a tree house with windows and a door. So Granny moved up, and now every day I climb to her room with a glass and a tray. She sits there in a state and drinks sherry with me, upholding her right to reside in the tree. With my expert assistance, he soon finished the chore. Okay, with my expert assistance. Assistant is someone, if I'm an officer in a company and I have an assistant, he's helping me do my job. So assistant is someone who helps a person to do his job. So author is saying he helped his father to build the tree, and he finished the chore. So when we are talking about a chore, it is a tedious but a necessary task. It is a difficult task, but it is very necessary to be done. So the chore they're talking about here is building a house on the tree. We made a tree house with windows and a door. So Granny moved up, and now every day I climb to her room with a glass and tray. So they made a tree house which had doors, which had windows. It was like a normal house, but it was on top of a tree. I climbed to her room with a glass and a tray. So ಇವಾಗ ಏನಾದರೂ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಊಟ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ he was the author was the one who was serving his grandmother. So he used to carry her food to where she stays. She sits there in state and drinks sherry with me. So, in a state, she sits there in state. So, when we are talking about in state, we usually talk about kings being in their kingdom. When a king is in his kingdom, he has that proud feeling that this is my place, that this is where I rule. So, she sits in her tree house so proudly that she has a feeling that she belongs there and she is the one who rules that place. So she sits there very proudly as if that she's sitting in a state, and she drinks sherry. Sherry is a brown or a yellow colored wine. Okay, so she drinks that. Wine is a savory that people usually drink. Wine can be a juice which is fermented from grapes. So wine is something that the author and his grandmother used to drink, upholding her right to reside in the tree. So, here the author concludes by saying that it felt like it was her right to stay in the tree, that she deserved, it is her right, as in ಅದು ಅವರ ಹಕ್ಕು ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. So it was her right to stay in the tree, and that is where she stayed. So, by this, I come to the end of this poem. I really hope all of you understood. If you have any doubts, please feel free to comment in the comment section below. And, I really hope you all like this poem and like the way we went through the entire summary and explanation. I think I can sum it up this way. The entire poem talks about unconventional behavior, or a person who is being very unique. So when we talk about grandmother climbing tree, it is not something which is seen very often. So the author is talking about a behavior or something very unique to his grandmother, and this can be seen in a way that even when the society and his own family is against his grandmother climbing the tree, how she does not care about what the society thinks or what her own family thinks about her climbing the tree. She does it anyway and she's happy there. And it also talks about how the entire family accepted that this is what his grandmother really required, and she is really happy being on a treetop, and they finally built her a house on tree, and now all of them are happy, and we come to an happy ending in this poem. So that is all for today's video. Thank you so much.